was really powerful to put 2 years of my life into building something that could be destroyed in less than something that's not being done.
I would say I would claim you as the sustainable man.
It's hard in this marketplace here, the market in general for AI.
First off, great to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Thank you for coming to Talking Growth. You are with Ra and Emil. Your name is
Micah Skye.
Micah Skye. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a entrepreneur of sorts. Been a chef for over 20 years. I was kind of raised through my teens in gourmet kitchens. I was blessed to be apprenticed in a 5-star kitchen, and then got recruited to another one that was a full service kitchen. So they made everything, breads, their desserts from scratch, their pastas.
Oh, wow.
Everything was made in house. And that is the best kitchen to train in, because you really are just from the ground up seeing the mechanics of how to really, really make food. And the place was called the Common Grill, and actually people would come from all over the state in Michigan just to get racks of their bread. So you could either get it pre-baked, or they'd make it just raw as dough, and you could actually like purchase it and bake it at home. Because
Take and bake.
That's it, because he came up with a bread formula for these rolls. Oh my gosh, so impressive. So I learned the mechanics of sourdough and culturing, and then, you know, it's funny because I have a Living Foods kitchen that I ironically on my path, I thought I was going to be a chef. This is what I was going to do. And I moved up the line quickly, and we would serve somewhere around 150 covers a night, you know, pretty fast paced.
Right.
And so one night, just in the flow of everything, it's very fast paced. I grabbed a pan that had hot oil in it and pulled it really quick off the line and went to throw it in the dish tank in our dish bin. And, you know, the thing about hot oil is you can't tell if it's hot.
Right.
So it slid up the pan and just covered my whole arm.
Ooh.
Just melted all the skin off my arm. It was like, psh. So I,
Wow.
it's funny, I literally got burnt from cooked food.
That is
When I talk
crazy.
about like being into raw or living foods, yeah. So that was a journey. You know, burns are a journey. They're different than when you cut yourself.
Yeah.
'Cause
The healing process.
the tissue keeps
There's
burning, and
layers.
then there's just stages and layers to how. Yeah. So it was 3 months and multiple bandages, having to change them every day, and it just kind of it pulled me out of like the momentum of, you know, I'm going to do this professionally. But I had a deep love for gourmet cuisine, and I kept my studies going, and then I got the opportunity to apprentice as with a special effects director in Hollywood for a TV show,
Nice.
which I was already planning on going out that way. And I kind of planted into the film industry for the next 10 years in Los Angeles, but I always kept my food study and world cuisine study. And then I trained with one of my first spiritual teachers, who was a South Indian yogi, who was also a biochemical nutritionist. And so I had transitioned to become vegetarian and then vegan at the time. And then, you know, one of my colleagues and partners, who was kind of like, we were like his two sons, like students, he went like hardcore into the raw living foods. And so that kind of transitioned me in a really puritanical way to living foods from a biochemical nutrition standpoint, because our teacher would do really simple dishes like soak some red lentils for like 15 minutes and then make a miso broth and put some kombu seaweed in, and then just lightly heat the red lentils and
explain
have some
that.
sprouted rice. And then it was just this like simple, nourishing little dish in between doing you know, yogic practices or doing physical body work and stuff like that.
So for the listeners, explain the difference between living foods like raw foods and just someone who is vegan or vegetarian.
So the base construct for what would be considered raw food or living foods would be food that is not cooked over 117 degrees. And so when you cook food over 117 degrees, you kill the enzymes in the food.
Right.
Most people don't know that your body expects that around 80% of your enzymes should come from your food. So when you cook food, you kill the enzymes, and so you're eating dead food that then the body has to use more of its own enzymes to break it down. And those enzymes come from the pancreas in what's called your enzymatic reservoir. It's where all your enzymes, are stored up.
I'm gonna have to look that word up.
Yeah.
So your enzymatic reservoir is in your pancreas, and so when you're eating food that is enzyme depleted, you naturally have to use more of your pancreatic enzymatic reservoir to digest your food. And those enzymes are designed to be, covering all kinds of tasks through the body: healthy skin, healthy nails, hair, everything.
Okay.
Not to mention the microbiome of your gut is supposed to have a certain, consistency of good bacteria in it. And a lot of that good bacteria gets supported to grow more from food that is enzyme rich and eating prebiotics and probiotics. So, unfortunately, with the industrialization of food that came about several decades ago, we got into this concept of convenience. Convenience for food,
Right.
where
Enriching
we started to eat more. We kind of traded in convenience for raw, natural, unprocessed food.
It's funny, we talked about convenience yesterday with Robbie's episode.
Yeah.
About the convenience of starting a business and having somebody else do everything for you. Now we're transitioning to the convenience of eating, and
Yeah.
it's a
Right.
dope segue.
Because it takes more effort to make your own food. What I tried to do in my book was show that it's actually not that hard to make your own food, to put a little effort forward to make your own food, and to be in charge of cultivating your own nutrition in your body, and coming up with meal plans for yourself. It's not that hard to make your own bread. I think that was a really big aha moment for me as a sourdough baker. Is like, wow, it's not hard to make your own bread. It's actually quite empowering.
And tell the people the name of your business. And
So I started a living foods company called Mandala Living Foods, and we were open 7 years ago here on Kauai at Kalia Farms, and open for about 8 months before we were unfortunately illegally evicted, and then our kitchen was lit on fire.
Right.
Which is ironic for a living foods kitchen. We don't have any stoves or any burners or anything, so it's like the last place you would have a fire start in that type of a kitchen. But fire was the element of transition, and the bones were good on this little mobile structure that we had. So sadly, we had a lot of loss, and most of the equipment and everything. And sadly, our insurance didn't cover arson, which is really weird for having our insurance for our food truck.
Right.
And so we just had a huge loss, and that was about 7 years ago. So over the last year and a half, I finally got, the second wave to do something with this charred structure that was sitting on my property, and got the kind of divine confirmation and the capital to say, let's rebuild this. Because when we were open for 8 months, we became a beautiful beacon in the community for a lot of people who can't eat processed sugar or gluten, diabetics. There's a lot of diabetes in our local community here.
Right. So
And,
I kind of want to go into how you felt during that time. It must have been hard that just seeing your business kind of corrupt by what's going on in the environment that allowed this to happen. How did you feel, and how did you kind of overcome it to start your next venture?
Yeah, I mean, it was it was powerful. On our website, mandalalivingfoods.com, I shot like a whole kind of short movie about the whole process that we went through.
Wow.
And so you can actually see all the footage in our
go check
journey
that
of
out.
going through it. It's actually pretty powerful.
We'll definitely put on the clip when we make some of these.
It was a lot. It's funny. You forget you make things like that, and I've had people come up since we've been open over the last 5 months and be like, I saw the film and I saw what happened to this, and they're looking at the rebuild of our cafe, and they're like, wow, it looks so amazing,
look
and
amazing.
it has been. And that's kind of the counter side, I guess I'm jumping ahead with, is it was really powerful to put 2 years of my life into building something that could be destroyed in less than an hour.
Right.
And there's an old saying that it's easy to destroy things.
Uh-huh.
It's actually the hardest to create things.
Talk that
You know,
talk.
it takes a lot more to do. And so it was, you know, we had launched something, and we're about to launch it over the next month or so at Mandala Living Foods. And it was one of our kind of humanitarian efforts for our island and for the struggling economy and for our people here, and we call it the prosperity movement. And so on our menu you'll see this strip along the side that has rainbow colors with a different day of the week all the way up and down, and there's a different type of a bowl on there. We call it the prosperity bowl. And the prosperity movement was offering this prosperity bowl every day of the week. If you don't have any money, you don't have any food, you could come get a prosperity bowl from our kitchen. And so we started, and we're going to be doing it again, is we would go around to the local businesses here and get them to sponsor, become sponsors, and donate to the food we would make that was really, you know, giving back to the community that supports their businesses, you know?
And I think that is part of the community that Kauai represents a lot too, is that we always find a way to give back to each other in some sort of way. It's like this talk show wasn't, you know, if it wasn't for trying to give back to the people and giving a voice to the business owner, it wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
And speaking on that, for those who are listening, we just talking with Micah Skye and the business owner of Mandala Living Foods, and he talked about the rise and the destruction of the business about 7 years ago, and how he built it back up and is now giving back to the community.
And it's been powerful. Over the 8 months we were open at Kalia Farms, we served over 1,000 free bowls of food to people in need, and it was amazing to see.
That is great to hear.
Yeah,
really
it was
good.
cool. It was kind of a beta test because, you know, we then put a prosperity smoothie and a tonic on the menu on top of the bowl. And we would make like a generic smoothie and because we're also a tonic bar on top of being a gourmet living foods cafe. So, and what is a tonic? What is a tonic bar?
Yeah,
we make these herbal alternatives to things that either relax you or stimulate you, whether it's
kind of like a mocktail, that type of vibe.
Yeah, and also like an alternative to coffee or espresso,
Okay.
something that wakes you up or something that chills you out.
Right.
And there's amazing alternative herbal different tinctures and medicines that I dove into tonic alchemy years ago and was inspired by a lot of tonic alchemists, and this tonic alchemy kind of category that started to come out in the superfood community. And so naturally I you know, started making my own formulas and was like, I look forward to opening a tonic bar and having tonic alchemy here on our island, because my big thing is like doing something that's not being done here.
Right.
And so there is no tonic bar.
That's what the show is.
You
We're
know?
doing stuff that's not being done right here.
because if, you know, we're an island, so if someone's already doing something really well, it makes sense to do something else that isn't, you know, being catered to
help.
in our community.
Right.
you know?
We have a huge diversity when it comes to thinking outside the box here too. Which, like, you know, we have a lot of things that do exist already,
Right.
but at the same time, we try to find ways on potentially making it better.
And innovating.
Innovating in a way.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to dive into your mind. There is a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
So it's like when you're going about learning all these things, what is your strive to actually go ahead and focus on one thing versus another? Because I think for people that are in business, they struggle a lot on trying to focus.
Yes.
And one thing to be focused on, and it seems like you're extremely focused on this path. And I love seeing that because there's not that many people that do that.
I'm actually quite the opposite. I'm all over the place.
Well, you do it with grace.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if I were to, you know, like we're interviewing me for Mandala and as a chef, but if I were to go into like the totality of what's gotten me even to here, you know, it's kind of surreal in the diversity of skill sets.
I see.
Like some Liam Neeson, like I've collected a broad category of skill sets that make me very effective. And, like I'm the founder of a neuromuscular science called NMRT, neuromuscular release therapy, that resets the nervous system, and it supports the rehabilitation organically.
You got the nerve to touch my
shoulders,
nerves.
knees, hips. Yeah, I help.
That's
and
awesome.
So, and I've had a 20-year practice and written a manual for it, and I've trained 50 practitioners that are now in the world, and
Oh
we're
my goodness.
building an institute for this work. And actually,
Wow.
my practice with neuromuscular therapy is what brought the funding about to be able to rebuild the kitchen and get that going. And I guess I do come off like a focused trinity of intentions for giving back to the world, which is feed the people, heal the people, teach the people. Those are the three pillars I kind of stay focused on.
You know what's funny is we actually mentioned something similar to that, which is providing value to the community or to the people, right? So a lot of people that start a business, they kind of focus too much on
money.
trying to make money versus trying to provide the value to whoever you're giving it.
That's the dance, really. How do we provide a service, but then also be honored for what that service is? And where is the dance of quality and artistry and the passion of what we're creating, and then being honored for that so we can continue doing that, you know? And that's kind of, even with our menu and our pricing, I've noticed three things, unfortunately, in our
endeavors
restaurant community here on Kauai, which is overpriced food, really horrible portions, small tiny portions, and poor quality. And it's like, sadly, you think at least one or two of those could be checked off. Like, okay, not the best quality, but big portion, still overpriced.
Like in Southeast Asia.
Or like, okay, it was not the best quality, but it also was cheap, so that's
Right.
So I kind of was like, why can't we have what is in a more competitive environment? Like Los Angeles is a very competitive field for not just like food trucks, for restaurants, for all culinary cuisine. And so there is a pressure through the competition that you can't really charge an exorbitant amount of money for a poor quality dish that doesn't have a good portion,
you're gonna lose
because
customers.
there's 10, 15, 20 other restaurants that you're competing with, and the demographic, you won't have a return demographic for your restaurant. And so I do feel like, because of the limitation to who's actually owning restaurants and putting food out, I've seen kind of a lack of ambition to provide that higher quality service, because it's kind of like it's got kind of a pirate vibe here,
Right.
a little bit
So-
of a piratey vibe on the island for.
What do you think is the reason of, I guess, like these overpriced foods, and like what is causing?
I think that brings in, like we talked about, is like what he said, the money side, and I mean,
greed.
and also, but see, that's not just on the restaurateur's part. Like, there's a reason that that big space in the Dragon Building that Bushido Sushi used to be in has stayed empty outside of them being there for a minute.
Real
It's
estate.
because the amount that they're
Gas.
charging monthly to have that space is
I see.
insane.
Yeah.
It's like, there's a lot of pressure. That's why we went to Anahola Marketplace, because I am a seasoned chef. I know what the overhead and expenses are to open a restaurant. So to be able to be at Anahola Marketplace, I basically took this little building and then builded an infrastructure around it to build basically like a cafe without having a brick and mortar expense overhead.
So I
Right.
mean, it's
To
good.
do
it's,
it,
it's good
which,
that you're
you know.
seasoned like that. How do you help those who aren't as seasoned, and then maybe also touch on some of the failures that you might have had because of
For sure.
not knowing? But now
Yeah.
that you know, how do you avoid that, and then talk about that a little bit?
I mean, I definitely think that failing is, one of the best education processes. As hard as it is, I can't tell you how many mentors I've had who have had beautiful, successful restaurants that have become spots, like in Venice, in Beverly Hills, and I'm just speaking on the LA scene. And I never knew that they had 2 or 3 restaurants that totally failed prior to that, and were just a total loss.
Okay.
And was it location? Sometimes, I mean, location
Yeah.
is everything.
Yeah.
We have a beautiful space that we're at in Anahola, but we're even where we're placed even on the transit from East Side to North Shore, we're still in a good transit point, but we're outside of Kapa'a. We're outside of a lot of the tourist circulation areas.
Yep.
And so it's taken a lot more to draw people to where we're at. You know what I mean?
I'm glad
and that's
that
been
you're
its own challenge.
right, and I'm glad that you're bringing that up because you see, like, from the experience itself of being able to find that place and trying to find more people to come to you, especially with, say, restrictions of where you are. Say,
Yeah.
like, you're not in Kapa'a,
Yeah.
you're not in Princeville, like, where what would you say is, like, has helped you identify and get people to come to you?
I definitely would say that quality of service. If you make a quality product on Kauai, you will become successful.
And I've had his
Like,
food. It's
you
high
know,
quality.
If you know, and I'll give you an example. Like, we've been open 5 months. You know, they say for the first year you're not turning profit.
Yeah.
You're at a loss for profit. We've actually we're on the higher operating end of the spectrum of that, and still just getting by, still finding, but in the scheme of what it looks like for a restaurant to even generate anything, and in reflection, we've done no marketing. We've really done no marketing whatsoever.
So it's all organic.
It's all word of mouth through the community. So
Dope.
as we ramp up the marketing and actually start doing more advertisements and things like that, we've actually more been focused on, and this would be my kind of second thing besides location, is the other tough challenge here on Kauai is staff.
No,
Your
that's everybody.
staff, getting quality people that believe in what you do and care about what you do and want to show up and be a part of it is a really tough one on this island.
Yeah, we talked about that last episode about vetting people. And for those who are just now listening to us, we're here with Micah Skye, the owner of Mandala Living Foods, and we're talking about mentorship and successes and failures with the restaurant business here on Kauai, as well as in the employee market, as well as profit. So. But yeah, so vetting people is one of those things where you have to do it, whether you're in partnership with business or you're looking for employees. And so how do you go about doing that? Is it like interview? Is it like resume? Is it like referrals? Like,
Right. Do you let them come in for a few weeks and then see if they, if they fit? Or...
It's a tough one, because even if you vet people, when you put in the hours to train them, and for us, we're a gourmet cafe. So I say that because we're not a full-blown restaurant, but if you look at our menu and the quality of our food, it is a gourmet. So it is like a little mini gourmet restaurant. So the recipes are very intricate. The assembly of the food is gourmet. We have a tonic bar, which requires its own plethora of training to understand herbs and superfoods and tinctures, and we use these high quality plant extracts, and to learn about what each of these extracts does. This extract, mugwort, is a nervine, and it helps with the nervous system, but it also helps with respiration. And like, the more educated that they get on this, people do come to us on a medicinal level, like almost like practitioners. Hey, this is what's going on with me. So there's a profound opportunity for people that really love this kind of stuff to come in and get educated on and learn about it and really step up. But as we put the energy and time to train these people, and we do like a 28-hour training interval, which they can make up those 20 hours. You could do it in 4 days if you want to do 4 7-hour shifts. So you could break it up and do 7 days of 4-hour shifts. However you want to do it, we try to put in at least 28 hours to train them before we bring them on fully into the schedule. But you put, almost a month, let's say, of training, hours and hours, 28 hours into someone, and then they now have this place of value in your company, and they can come in and just be like, I don't want to work here anymore. That's a tough one. You're just naturally at a loss in that regard. And there's been a lot of reflections from the community here that we lost a big element of the workforce through the whole pandemic thing, because it was rough, and that really kind of knocked out a bracket of people that were here working that had to go somewhere else because they could just get paid better.
Right.
And a lot of our businesses they went down in that regard, and so, or they conserved their resources and had to start shutting down, employee hours and shifts. So we did lose like a whole demographic of service industry people. And so it's definitely a tough one. I feel like I'm still in the process of understanding how to master the vetting process, so to speak. It's mainly, I think, the determination of passion, how passionate someone is for what it is that you're doing with your business.
And it's hard
to
find that, right? They have to, that's something that comes from the internal side.
Right.
And with the skills that you're teaching these people or partners or potential employees, do you give them like what we talked about in our last episode, SOPs or standard operating procedures of how to get things done, or is it just straight hands-on, you watch me work?
It's a combination of both. We have my cookbook digitized on tablets in there, so all the recipes are in there, but a lot of the recipes we don't make to the book. Like, for instance, like maybe the salsa, the pico de gallo, I put a lot of options for different spices in there, and when you're serving to the community, you can't put a lot of the same spices in because you have to cater to a broader demographic. So we put less of the seasonings that I would in the book into some of the things. It leaves the freedom for people to, add that spice if they want to have it, and not everyone wants to have spicy pico de gallo. That's how I like it.
I like mine super spicy.
That's how I put the recipe. I recommend it in there, but there's still the option. Yeah, exactly, right? And we do make some hot sauces in that regard. But yeah, I definitely. Then we have a very hands-on apprenticeship structure, but then we do have, and we're working always on refining more set steps of operation. For sure.
Yeah, I think that's very important because especially when you're trying to get new employees to come into the door and train them up, it's hard to already have one person coming in, but then they end up leaving. That's probably even harder because not only the workload gets tougher, but it's also that the person that you relied on to do one thing isn't there anymore. So it's more or less not only that we don't have that many people to do the coverage, but it's also the importance of how long it takes to learn these skills to be able to be functional.
And I'm going to keep it real, I've seen a real degeneration in the more current generations.
Yeah,
millennial Gen Zs. I guess I'm just an old fart coming from the Gen X, but we were on the tail end of the human beings that built this country.
Right.
On the backs of their hard work and their diligence and their partnerships and their commitment to each other and their loyalty and their drive. And Gen X, I feel like, caught the tail end of that, where we had a lot of those individuals in our lives as role models, also complaining and being like, "You kids it's all going downhill from here." And now we're kind of the ones being like, "Wow,
we see what they were talking about."
Because the Gen Zs and the millennials don't have as many of those. And I'm not just saying baby boomers, but I'm saying the grandmas, the grandpas,
the mentors, the elders,
the elders of the baby boomers that were really building this country up. And so,
or building their houses, building their shops,
showing up for 8-9 hour shifts. And so I've seen a real sad degeneration in the concept of work ethic and ambition and drive, and everyone wants to be a life coach, and everyone wants to have an online business. And I mean, I remember we had an employee who came in and this is where I said it's hard to vet, came in just full fire, taking notes and ambitious, and I was like, wow, this guy is amazing. And then it was not even 4 weeks in, he was like, I don't really want to work till 8 p.m. I like to be in bed by then. 20 something years old. I'm like, hey, Bill, you want to be in bed by 8 p.m.
What is it you think?
You know what it is? I definitely want to segue into this conversation now because I am part of the Generation Z.
And there's always exceptions. I just want to say that now. Okay, I challenge you all to be an exception, be an exemplary exception, and bring it back to the old school.
So what I'm trying to say is that you're not wrong. There is a lot of complications that I see in my generation, especially on the fact of being able to do something for so long, because I think
It's
we've
attention
touched.
span.
Yep. So we've touched on this on every episode so far of social media being the number one culprit, and I think it's overall just technology,
It's technology
in general.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a technological degeneration, and the science behind it is that dopamine and serotonin, it all comes back to biochemicals. You said something about drugs, and that came up in a few episodes. Everything is about drugs. Food is a drug.
Yep.
Right.
Literally, like it's actually the
Information is a
most
drug.
abused
Right.
drug that there is food, because we don't look at it as a drug.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so we eat it from an emotional place. We eat from places that are unhealthy for us, and that's why we have unhealthy diets that we're eating from.
Comfort
So
foods and things like
drugs are the chemicals in your brain. Even if you eat those drugs in the food, or you smoke some herb, or it's not that's making you high. That actually stimulates chemicals in your own
That's
brain to
already
be
in you.
released. That's a big aha moment should be for a lot of people, that
Right.
it's not this thing that's actually giving you a high.
Right.
It's stimulating chemicals in your own
Which is
brain
already
that are
within
already
you.
being
Right,
produced.
exactly.
So we used to have to earn our dopamine, which is the brain chemical for feeling an
that. Yeah,
accomplishment,
catching a fish or
doing something,
hunting.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so now when you just swipe like this with your hand, you get a spurt of dopamine.
It's overloaded.
Right.
That's a dangerous thing, because it's
Yeah.
showing you the brain's going, brain doesn't have to do anything. Brain could just get some dopamine.
And I
brain
think
could
it's-
just do
Right.
it. Brain just gonna do some dopamine. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and so naturally, why would I go accomplish
We're clipping
something?
that for
I'm
sure.
just getting that release of the dopamine. And I have seen now, coming from a generation where, and I'm blessed because I didn't get a cell phone till after my brain was fully developed, because they didn't come out till
Right.
after I was 25.
Right.
Not to say how old I am or anything, I'm just keeping it real. But in that respect,
I had a cell phone
feel
then.
super blessed.
Right, right.
Because I see my kids, even, that I fought to keep the technology out, even because I bring this awareness even to them. I educate them on this. But developing brains
Right.
that are before 25, they are getting
Right.
mutated. It's mutating the brains
Yeah.
to give this dopamine and serotonin. That we're gonna have generations of different brains than my brain.
Talk
Right.
that talk.
And that's crazy.
So I actually love this topic because, this goes back to what I was saying with the attention spans, the dopamine that you mentioned. It is a drug. And I've seen that, like, from my generation, I've seen people consumed by it. Like, I personally am someone that also has been consumed by it, no matter how hard I have tried.
And we're from all three
And-
different generations, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's kind of hard for us in a way, because not only that we grew up with it naturally, which I don't know if it's even possible to get away from nowadays.
Right.
That it's just going to continue in that rapid pace, that eventually the people that were, like, say they grew up without technology are not there anymore. Now we're stuck with everyone that's grown up with technology.
Yeah, it's changing. It's changing the whole society.
Yeah.
And
Well, and big catalysts, the elements for that are, desensitization and normalization, really. We're desensitized to the technological integration. We're normalized to it in a behavioral sense, where it's like we got our phones on the dinner table.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
there's
Right.
AI.
They're
at
right there
drive-thrus.
on the. I mean, we're
Right.
literally we don't think about driving somewhere. I mean, it's a little easier, obviously, quiet because
Yeah.
it's hard to get lost. But most people don't try to find directions places anymore. You go to this robot.
Right.
Really,
Yep.
someone described that way. That everyone has an android, a robot that tells them what to do. Tells them the numbers they need to dial, tells them everything. They wake up in the morning and they check in with the robot. The robot follows them around. It gives them their schedule.
It's hard to disassociate.
And
Right.
it is. It's like we literally do have this little robot that is like our companion. And sadly, that's really turned into an even bigger deficit for human connection and socialization now. We have really disturbing numbers outside of, like, the highest level of divorce rate right now. We also have the young people from your generation. They're not connecting. They're not dating. They're not.
Yeah.
They're overweight.
I-
They're not joining the military. They're not doing these things. And I mean, those are just challenges, right? What are the solutions to those things? Like, how do we fix that? right? Because there has to be something. There's, for any issue, there's a solution.
I don't think that there's a best way to really solve it, because it's more or less we would have to wake up within ourselves
You
to be
just
able
said
to
it has
do
to
it.
be an individually inspired invocation of laying in a level of discipline to really kind of taking it back to the old school.
It's in you,
Right.
not on you, right?
It's
And I
literally
wouldn't even
going back
say-
to the old school. It's saying
Yeah.
I'm going to get out of nature more.
Nature.
I'm going to not have my phone at the table. I'm going to be present in this conversation with this person and not check my phone. This is the tough part about getting bad habits is you a lot of times take on bad habits unconsciously. And so to change those habits, once they become patterns and addictions, you have to consciously do that. And that's
where the
way
discipline-
harder.
Yeah.
Because now you
Right.
got to be conscious at it. Where a lot of times, like, and I'm talking even down to your posture, a lot of us slouch and
Oh, yeah.
we program a slouch.
Yeah.
So if you want to change your posture, you
let's
have
sit
to,
up a little
you
bit.
have
Fix
to
mine.
consciously
It's gotta
do
be
it.
conscious,
And
yeah.
it's harder to do.
Right.
It
It
is.
takes more effort.
And it takes more lower back muscles. It takes a lot of that. But that's
Yeah.
what discipline is. Discipline is doing the hard things over and over and over
it.
again for the right reasons.
So I want to segment back to our conversations about your business. So where are you now, and where are you planning to go?
Ooh, Micah Skye's the limit.
Sky's the limit. Oh, no, I apologize by saying Micah Sykes. It's Micah Skies for those listening as well.
Micah Skies.
So, we're 5 months open now. Our bigger vision, and that's why we went with, and this is what I suggest business wise, like our POS system, we went with Toast,
I used to.
which wouldn't
Okay.
make sense maybe for like an individual cafe unless you were looking to build, a network of these cafes, and because it's the
expensive.
number one, it is, but it's worth it because you're digitizing the entire back end of your restaurant. And so
I see all the numbers.
So for us, we can open now a chain of these locations, and it's copy and paste because everything has been digitized. Took more
Right.
time. It was like 3 months of digitizing everything, but now it's all dialed on the back end, and it's copy and paste to be able to create multiple locations, which is a more local vision. We'd like to have at least 2 more locations on the island, one on the south side, one on the north shore. And then we're expanding this coming month with 3 of our first in-store brands.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, so our food will be in stores. We already had requests from all the health food stores here, like Papayas and Hoku, and we're working on that. But the first in-store brand that we've been in the talks with has been with Kauai Juice, and then a local cafe, and then yourself even. And so we're slow and steady looking. That integration is going to take a lot more food production for us. And we're excited about it, and we're looking forward to it. But then the next stage to expanding is you need more capital, you need more of everything to do
Right.
it. And that's that interesting thing where you actually start getting more successful, and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
can I even,
Right, let me
am I
breathe.
ready for this expansion?
Yeah. So
And
for those who
Yeah.
are looking to help you, anybody that got land or anybody that is looking for investments and stuff, how do they find you or reach out to you?
They can email or write us at mandalalivingfoods@gmail, or support@mandalalivingfoods.com.
Okay.
And they can always check out our website and our vision and what we're doing on there. And that's why, we kind of set our roots in at the Anahola Marketplace, and it is a raw canvas. And I'm excited that Red House
Shout out
is
Red House,
now,
go on.
shout out to Red House, is set up at Anahola Marketplace
They're
now.
our next
That's their home
interviewee.
base.
Yep.
And so Shane and I have been brainstorming out for the spring and summer
Nice.
coming now, how we really want to create an environment that's inviting for the community. Where our overall goal is to do 1 major headlining show a month.
All right.
Because we have this huge lot. You'll see us. We're just off from the marketplace where that skate ramp used to
Yeah.
be, and you'll
Okay.
see our big rainbow flower sign that's glowing neon at night in
That
the
thing is
setback.
that thing is nice.
And
That
there's
thing
a
is nice.
stage off to the left, which we're building 2 wings on. So it's going to be a larger stage that can hold legitimate bands.
Oh wow. Okay.
And then our goal is to get vendors around the outside like a horseshoe to create an outdoor
I love that.
amphitheater-like
I love that.
environment. And over the next month, we have a company coming and seeding that lot, so it'll be all grass.
Nice.
And we're building a community garden back there, and it's a beautiful canvas with space that is inviting, and Shane's doing a lot of beautiful things to activate.
Shout out Shane and Blue, man. They've been hustling and getting it. I've been,
and making a marketplace beautiful and
That's dope.
activating the cafe. And there's a new breakfast place called the Rooster that's going to be, or Da Rooster, that's going to be opening up in there from like 7 a.m. till 2. And they're going to have our breakfast menu, since we're not open till 2. They're going to have our breakfast menu and tonics and smoothies and things that you'll be able to get early morning as you're passing by Anahola Marketplace.
You
which
heard
we're
it here
excited
first.
about.
The growth of Anahola Marketplace.
Yeah, so we're
You heard
really
it.
looking to expand out something for the community, especially through spring and summer,
Awesome.
and into the holiday season that will follow from there. It's definitely an exciting time. And then on the back burner for us, as we touched base on, it is hard in this marketplace here, the market in general for Kauai, because it's a smaller demographic. And so a lot of our products have drawn the interest for the development of national brands. So we have a super probiotic yogurt. Most yogurts have around 16 strains of lactobacillus. That's the individual lactobacillus cultures. Ours has over 70 strains.
Oh my goodness.
So it's over 70 billion cultures. It's literally almost 10 times the amount of cultures of any yogurt. It's the most powerful yogurt we know of on the market, and it's made from coconut, so it's completely dairy-free.
Wow.
So that's drawn the attention to build a national brand, and not just a national brand, but we're in the process of building the first coconut processing facility on Kauai. We have over 100,000 coconuts that go to waste here every month.
Wow.
And
Every month?
every month, and no one's built a coconut
100,000.
processing facility for a natural resource here that's just going to waste.
Okay.
So we're in the process of building the first warehouse here to process not just the coconut to make the yogurt and the national brand and these kefirs, but also to process the husk.
Yep.
And dehydrate and process the husk, which is the #1 mulch for the agricultural industry right now. And we're even looking at the
It's a great
potential in
base.
the facility to process the shell for carbon, which is also used a lot for green technology. So
that's
really
sustainable all the way
nothing but
around.
everything can go to use from this natural resource that's unutilized in our community. It's going to offer a lot of jobs here to people in the community, and that's my bigger goal again, is how can we build things in this beautiful place that we live, and so then we also, a couple of our other products are looking to get picked up as national brands, which our focus is that it will really give us more funding and insurgents to comfortably serve our community without feeling the pressure of what it is in the demographic that we have here, which is tough.
It
is tough.
It's a tough thing, and it's tough, and that's why a lot of people don't build businesses here, is because it's hard to sustain them in our community, especially if you have an economy that is struggling.
Well, I like the vision to help the struggling economy, and we're definitely going to clip that there's 100,000 coconuts that go to waste per month, and then if we build a processing facility here, that we create jobs, create more sustainability, create soils, create
a service. People are paying $75 a tree to get their trees cleaned. The way our company will work is we have a team of tree climbers that are insured tree climbers that will come and we'll clean your trees. We'll clean your trees, and we take the coconut and the green waste and we process it. And so we're hoping to eventually get some state and county contracts, because again, our focus is what we're processing. So really our only investment on this is paying for our employees and our work and our labor.
Wow.
But in terms of what we're building a brand around, we're not paying for the product. We're harvesting the product. And there are hundreds of properties that sit with these coconut trees going to waste. And they're seen as a nuisance, really, in a lot of respects, the green waste, the falling coconuts, all of it. So I'm surprised no one's done it yet so far. There are coconut processing facilities on other islands, but for whatever reason, we haven't gotten one here yet. So It's been something that's been in the works for a long time, along with like I grew this super probiotic yogurt over the last 8 years, and it's helped so many of my patients. And now we sell it at Mandala Living Foods, but we're still doing small batches. But it's going to be epic to be processing upwards of 1,000 pounds, 2,000 pounds of coconut a month is our goal.
Wow.
And building out a national brand to get this
That's
probiotic
amazing.
yogurt. And my big thing also is like
Made on Kauai.
made on Kauai, but also cheaper on Kauai. Like I'm gonna specifically make this yogurt, these kefirs, like an affordable, lower price for our people here. I'm not looking to build a brand and go ship this everywhere and make a bunch of money off of it.
Beautiful.
And make it super expensive for the people here. I want it to be naturally lower for in cost for everyone that lives here, because to me the whole thing is we talked about, the microbiome, the gut is deeply compromised for almost all of us, because we've been so desensitized, not just with the technology but with eating food that is dead.
Right.
Right.
You know, and unfortunately a lot of the local favorites, it's dead food. It's dead food. I'll give you an example. We do a sprouted rice. It's the only thing we cook at our cafe, and we sprout our rice for 3 days. And I gotta say, if anyone likes eating rice, everyone hear me now. Like, we took on this bad practice from the Chinese culture of cooking dead, dry rice. The Japanese soak their rice. It's pretty standard over there. You soak your rice. So you take your rice, you put it in a mason jar, you fill it with water, you rinse it every day and fill it back up. On the third day, rinse it twice, put it in a Tupperware, throw it in your fridge. Now, instead of going to the pantry, you go to your fridge for your rice, and you cook it up the same way. And it changes it from a fast-burning carbohydrate to a slow-burning carb, which is a holistic food. So it's a whole other nutritional substrate to do that. And it tastes better, it's more tender. And so people have started loving the sprouted rice. And so we have that, and that's actually one of the bases for the Prosperity Bowl that we do.
Okay.
But, you know, bringing it back to our business, our menu, our thing is gluten-free, sugar-free. Our cheesecakes, all of our desserts are sugar-free. They're all gluten-free. We make poi pies. We have a poi pie right now. We make a fudge pie that's made from poi.
Okay.
We use all local ingredients that we source. We do everything from burgers to tacos to lasagna to pad thai. We kind of cover the cultural spread of food, and we make it deliciously under 117 degrees. So we've found a way, and it became kind of a focus for me. How can I recreate my favorite things?
Right.
How can I make that nasty Velveeta cheese from the bowling alleys and the movie theaters that I used to like on chips, that used to just wreck my stomach after I ate it? How can I make that with coconut, dairy-free,
Right.
We ran out of data.
and taste amazing? So, like, our nachos, I recommend, just coming for the nachos.
Yep.
Roz has had the nachos. That was his
Man.
first kind of
I
intro
was
right there.
blown away.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I couldn't stop eating them. And it makes you full. Like,
Yeah.
it's
And
one
you
of-
feel better
feel
after.
So much better.
So we started doing food for our church ministry. Shout out to Puka's Ministries. They've been hugely supportive for us to be open, and Kahu Jason, so grateful. And so they asked us if we do food ministry. So we did these Mexican bowl plate, like a Mexican bowls. And we did it with the sprouted rice and with the coconut nacho cheese. And it was really powerful to serve like 120 plus people who were like, because, you know, like a lot of times the food after service is very Hawaiian style.
Right.
And it's good, but it's also lots of processed things, cheese, things like that, you know. And so it was cool to see them all eat it and be like, wow, this is delicious. But it was even more powerful to see people come up to us after and be like, yo, I ate that. And normally I go home and sleep, and I had all this energy, and I went and worked out, and I felt great.
Yeah.
And so it was, again, that substance side that they were seeing, wow, I didn't just enjoy that, I felt great after. And that's on average what we see with so many of our customers that will come, is they come back because they were like, I just felt so great I woke up the next day, and they say a lot of times I always get jacked from the food I eat on the island, and I ate this and woke up the next day, it felt like $1 million. And you know, so that's the beautiful thing that
Right.
again creates more substance for our place, and why we've beautifully seen with no marketing, people go, I've heard from 2 or 3 people that this place is great and I've been meaning to come here. And that's again, this is a long-standing formula for making your business successful. Is your content, your substance will always, people
Right.
appreciate things that are good here.
Yeah, 100%.
We know it because we live here, and we're like, and you know, you hear from somebody, oh, have you heard about this one place? And the beautiful thing about small community
Coconut
too
Wireless.
is it can work both ways. The Coconut Wireless, right?
Yeah.
If you have something that's whack, or you're not doing a good service, or your
Right.
food isn't, that
It's gonna
spreads.
spread
But
faster.
equally, if you're doing something good, that also spreads, and
Right.
people talk to each other, and they,
Close this out.
especially because they'll go, hey, have you been to that place, like, to save me going there?
Yeah.
Have you? Oh, you have? Is
Yeah.
it good?
Yeah.
Oh, it's worth going there? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You know?
No, definitely. Micah Skye.
Dude,
This
has
is
been
my
dope.
first time ever meeting you, and honestly, I would claim you as the sustainable man. So I'm
That's
glad to
great.
have you on our
It's an honor.
episode, and you know you've been doing a lot of great things, and I'm glad I'm here to witness everything you're doing so far. I hope everything for your success continues to grow, and I also hope that you know you'll see this place flourish with you in it.
100%.
It's my goal. I got 4 kids here. So
That's amazing.
That's the other investment, is you're like, okay, what do I want to, you guys were talking one episode about legacy, you know? And it's like, what legacy do you want to leave? You want to leave a legacy where you're contributing to the health and wellness, or you're serving food that, like, you know, will sell, but you wouldn't eat.
Right,
You
right.
know, like,
Right.
what is the legacy I want to pass on for my children? And that's a beautiful thing that I feel like is just starting to unfold. My daughter is one of our sous chefs. She's 16, and she works with me. She's working on shift tonight. I'm gonna be in there with her, and it's been beautiful to see her education around food, and to see her growth with it, and her understanding of superfoods and how to make.
And let the people know
smoothies
when
and-
you're open and times you're open, so they can come by swing
Yeah,
by.
so for now, because of the winter hour transition, as we all know, the winter season is what it is, and you know, we have had to adapt. It's been gnarly, even just architecturally, structurally on
Okay.
our vessel with all the rains and stuff. So we're pretty stoked for it to dry out and
yeah.
do some more building.
Okay.
But Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we're open. On the weekdays 2 to 8, on the weekends 2 to 9. We're closed Tuesdays and Sundays as of now.
Okay.
We'll probably open that up at some point as we get into summer a little bit more, but we kind of did a reboot for Tuesday, and also now going into the in-store brand stuff, which we're grateful, because for people who can't make it to Anahola, we're excited for you to be able to have access to our food on the south side or the North Shore. You know what I mean?
Right,
And
exactly.
be able to go, oh, this is good. I'm going to make it over there at some point, because this burger was great.
Dope.
And so, yeah, our Garden Island burger, our nachos, I definitely am looking forward to. And our live root beer. That's the other thing. We're expanding into a brewery. That's our next step, because we're
Beautiful.
selling so much of this root beer.
Beautiful.
And I figured there's nobody doing a root beer on the island. So
Right.
and I love
You
root
guys
beer,
heard it
man.
here
That's what's
first.
up.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot to go check out.
Yeah.
Go
I
to
appreciate
Mandala
you.
Living Foods.
Yep.
Find Micah and say hi.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys.
It's been real.
Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Talking Growth with Emil
Rah.
and we will see you guys next time.
Aloha.
Dope.
Word.
That is great.
Yeah,
Thank you